so we're, Albina's going to make a very short overview presentation and kind of set the stage for the discussion for any folks that want to come forward. All right, we have cards to discuss facilities use and
Oh, we didn't know. We didn't know how this worked.
I thought you were like doing one of these.
No.
So now that we have cards.
Make a big MH in the crowd, that's what it is, right? Picture of it.
So we're going to go ahead and she's going to have a couple seconds to kind of set the stage and explain the process and why there's a process and a policy. And then it'll be time for community members to speak to the 3 minutes of what they wish to speak to the board about.
Hear me okay back there? My previous challenge, as you knew, was standing up for the longer presentation. Now my next challenge is to get this done within 2 minutes. So let's see how we do here. I'm supposed to put this. So this is a shortened version of the presentation that I provided at the last board meeting. Of course, we have the same goals: updating the board policy, the administrative regulations, making sure we have consistency among all the organizations at the school sites, and adding the high school and the district office. As you are aware, for facility use, we may charge Civic Center. It's to allow community to be able to use our facilities. Obviously, we have no other facilities for them to use. It's important to know that the district faced a $25,000 deductible for any claim filed due to a liability. And last I checked, we had maybe collected between $10,000 and $12,000 for rentals to date. And also, if an organization is going to be charging any kind of admission fees or holding an entertainment, dancing of some sort, then we do need to charge a fair rental value on that. We have 6 tiers, which I recommend we continue keeping those tiers, comparing it to other school districts that are doing the same. And my recommendations are to centralize the process, kind of keeping it within the district office rather than having all the applications going out to the sites. Creating a facility use handbook similar to what Tracy School District has. We would need to reevaluate the costs of the facilities, making sure that the district office issues a permit to the user so they're showing the custodian when they use the site, and having check-in and check-out forms, and then making sure that we understand what type of billing process that we're going to have. And tonight, obviously, we would like to collect some community input regarding the organization of the facility use. And I've provided some recommendations and making sure that we include the district office facilities and the high school. And then at the next board meeting, we would like to put forward some of the suggestions that we hear tonight into the handbook, bringing it to you for first reading, and then, of course, having some time to have some board policy adoption by the April 16th board meeting. Did I get in 2 minutes?
We have some speaker cards here. Cassie. Barbara.
Hi, I'm Cassie Bobro, and I just wanted to catch the chase with what I wanted to say. I think that charging a daily, hourly rate on the field, specifically as in regards to Mountain House Little League, would really kind of shut us down as far as, because we have all the practices and everything. And I was a college softball player and somebody who grew up with sports in my life, and I'm sure you guys all play sports, like it's a big deal. And these kids deserve that, and they deserve to have a little league. And while I understand wanting to make money for those facilities and having to have insurance on all that good stuff, I just really hate to see something like that have to go away.
Thank you. Next speaker is Lynette Hatfield.
Hello, my name is Lynette Hatfield. I'm also here on behalf of Mountain House Little League. Cassie and I are on the board. And we do feel very strongly about the ability to use local facilities for our children. We have been charged in the past for use of boardrooms, for registration, things like that. We've also been charged for the use of the annex at Cuesta while there's baseball going on. That fee was refunded, thank you so much, but we did have to write a check for $63 just to sit in an alcove to give our parents a safe, dry place to come and sign the paperwork with us, and provide us payment for their children. So we try to, because we're a nonprofit youth organization, I understand you guys are looking across the board at different tiers of activities, who's requesting use, if they're trying to make money off this or not. Our main focus is not to make money. We're not trying to make money off these children. Every year at the end, our bank account is anywhere from $2 to $4 grand, and I can say that as a treasurer. We are just trying to continue this program. We're trying to grow this program. And in order to do that, we need to not be affected by daily, hourly fees, because we have no way of recouping that other than ballooning our fees up beyond the point where parents can actually pay for it. Myself, I have 2 children. I have 2 to play, and every year those fees go up. So I went into spending $250 just for 1 season of baseball. If I had 4, you can imagine how much my check would be. So we're just trying to maintain the level of consistency that we have seen from the school district in our ability to use the field and to have access to provide to our volunteer coaches, to our volunteer board, to our volunteer umpires. We have also made agreements with the
Valley Crest.
Yes, Sally Crest. So they provide as much grooming as they can for us, but we do have field managers and we have dedicated dads that pull their lawnmowers out and we buy the field shop and we fix everything. So I know the damage is a concern. We fix everything because we want it game ready for these kids. We don't want holes in the ground. We do report if there's a problem, water leak, something like that, sprinkler head. So we're very proactive. I know the other groups are too. I guess that goes for flag football as well, so I'm also affiliated with them. But we do as much as we possibly can to maintain the integrity of the facilities that we're using, whether it be an annex to collect registration fees or the field for our kids to practice on. And once again, just like Cassie said, we're trying to cut to the chase. Please don't charge us. Sorry. Youth nonprofit, we should be that top tier of, hey guys, glad you're here. And we understand if we get less usage because we're not able to pay as much as someone who's coming in and renting the facility, but we're also not charging for it. So that's it.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jeff Grons.
How you guys doing? My name is Jeff Grons. I'm the president for MHSI. We oversee both tackle football and also MHYB, which is youth basketball that we have here in the community. We've been very fortunate to be able to have an organization for our kids to play tackle football in. You know, when we first moved here, there wasn't anything like that for us. So our kids played in the flag football league, which was great, but we wanted to make sure that they were prepared to play high school football if they choose, if the parents chose, and if the child chose. So we've been very fortunate, and we thank the board for allowing us to be able to use facilities. We try to leave in the best shape that we possibly can. We bring a lot of people through this community with tackle football. We have, at any one Saturday, 1,000+ people coming into this community that don't really know where Mountain House is. I mean, for the last couple of years, we have people coming in and say, where's Mountain House? Where is that? So it's been a great thing for our kids. It's been great for we feel, for the community in general. People come here and say, this is beautiful, this is a great community, you guys have a wonderful community. And we're also very excited about the high school opening up and being a part of feeding our kids into being a very competitive, you know, high school level football organization, which is great for any community in terms of revenue. Friday nights will never be the same, and we believe that will also bring our community together to rally around something like that. With that said, I know it may be unrealistic to ask that we don't have to pay for field use, and that may be completely unrealistic. Well, when we first started, we went to Tracy School District and we asked, can we use your field, any of your fields? And we got pushed out. They said there was no availability to you because you're Mountain House. Well, obviously paying taxes in this community and paying taxes, we felt that our kids going to Kimball or Kimball High should be able to use those facilities. So you're not Tracy School District, you're Lammersville, and I'm sorry. So it put us back. We had to make some adjustments, and we were able to use Cuesta. Many of you guys know that we use Cuesta. It's not really a football designed field, right? So it's impacted our community. We tried to mitigate the amount of people coming in and field use, but it just isn't the facility for that kind of usage. So this fall is going to be great for us, it's going to be great for the community. What I would ask is that, and I don't understand the tiers, I don't know the tiers or how they work, but we're a 501(c) approved nonprofit. That's the first thing that we did. Secondly, our board members live here in this community. We don't have outside board members. Our coaches, the majority of our coaches live here in this community, and 98% of our kids plus play football with us live in this community. Their parents are taxpayers, they attend these schools. Our kids on Fridays litter the schools with their hurricane jerseys. Okay, so what we're proposing is we realize that there is some impact, and every 8 to 10 years or whatnot, a field needs to be worked with. But we feel that the value that we're bringing to the table, for the community, we would ask that, and I don't know how the fees work, but we would ask that there may be a different tier for maybe outside organizations that come in that want to use, say, the high school field. Meaning that outside board members, outside coming in and using the facility. And obviously, this is our second year. We have a debt that we still have, and our third year will be much of the same, with the costs to provide the safety that we need. So I appreciate it. I know I might have went over time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cammie Bragg.
Larry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome. Your L looks like a C, I'm sorry.
My name is Larry Bragg, and I'm the Vice President of Mountain House Hurricane Football. I also coach there. I live here, moved here from San Jose. My wife and I, our kids, we love it here. And as a former player and a parent, the fees that we have because we're a startup organization, much like because we're a very young city, are pretty high. And any fees that we're going to have to pay is going to make it higher. When you have leagues that are, around Tracy that are much lower, just because they've been around longer, it's more enticing to the parents to take their kids there. To establish a high school, we obviously want a winning program there. It is going to be much easier for us if we're there and we have a team there for us to go to the coach and say, hey, these kids that are coming up, what system are you running, so that we can farm them from here to there. And we're at an advantage because everybody lives here. It's so close. Everybody knows everybody. The kids are going to say it's going to make the sports teams much better. It can be a premier place to play, where you get kids that get college scholarships and everything like that, which will bring more people to Mountain House, and it'll make the community bigger. It'll make more money for everybody. So just like Jeff said, I'm not sure what, I'm sure that field's going to be great over there, and it does cost money. We all know that. But, like he said, if you have other organizations coming from outside the city, yes, they should probably pay more, because we're paying taxes to get that built and all of that goes into it. So please consider that, because again, until the teams here get established, those fees are going to be high, because we all have debts to pay, uniforms fees and field fees, and we just moved to PAL. I'm not sure if you're aware of PAL, but that's Premier League, and it's going to bring a lot of people every week through here. So we definitely want to keep those costs down. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jim Lamb.
Hi, Board. Just a couple observations. I'm not here speaking on behalf of the CSD Board, although I'm a board member. This is just my personal observations. We're also exploring that in some things that we've noticed or observed anyway. Some of the Mountain House sports leagues are predominantly Mountain House residents, Mountain House coaches, but some of them are also blended, and they're soliciting outside of the community for players to grow and get a better economy of scale. But that means that we're providing facilities for free for for those organizations. So one of the things that we're looking at is potentially having a test that says, you know, are they 90% or 80% or 70%, and adjusting the fees accordingly. So that the organization starts to grow, and it's really putting a burden on your schools in the weekends because everybody's coming from all over the place because they're soliciting in Manteca and Tracy and Livermore. That's something just to maybe keep in mind and to take into consideration in your policy. The other issue that we were facing is very early on, and Mr. Balzarini was there when we did this, we waived the fees for youth sports, nonprofits in Mountain House. But what we found fairly early on was this desire for some leagues to try to reserve all the fields to the exclusion of other organizations. And so if you offer something for free, you run that risk. So my thought is maybe not free, but it shouldn't be punitive. It should just be to address that. And maybe you have different considerations, but I do have a problem with free if someone can come in and reserve all the fields to the exclusion of other fair uses. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I have another speaker card here that came in after we discussed after this agenda item was up, but if the person would like to come and make a brief statement at this point, it is, I know I'm going to butcher this one, Anurada. Exactly.
First of all, thank you for giving me a chance to talk. Last week my kids come and they told, like, our vice principal is fired. So I just wondering, is there any reason, or every parents in our school are wondering why this happened, or is it going to happen to our teachers too? Because, you know, it just is it happen to our teachers too? In the sense, we have a great school. You know, our score is like 910 this year, and it's happened because of all the school members, like principal, vice principal, administration, parents, board members, all. So I just want to say something about this. Like, everybody just wanted to know why. I mean, what's the reason? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything to that?
Public comment, we're just going to accept public comment. If you'd like to make an appointment and come and visit me, I would be happy to speak with you in my office.
Yeah, well, it won't bother anybody else, then I will do that. I mean, I just won't bother anybody else in my school because I just raise this topic.
Doesn't bother Dr. Nicholas.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. In fact, it's great. So I will, you'll have my card before you leave tonight.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is there any discussion from the board on the facilities use?
You know, a couple of things. First, my children participated in youth sports and have for a long time. They participated in the baseball, participated in the soccer, participated in the flag football. He's not old enough yet for the tackle football, but I look forward to that day. I would stress a few things. One, this is not at all exclusive to this community. Tracy charges for their facilities, Livermore charges for their facilities, everybody, every school district charges for their school facilities. We're not here, somebody said, we're not here, we're trying to make money. I promise you, that's the last thing this board is trying to do with regards to those facilities, particularly when it involves anyone with a 501c3 designation. You're not making money, we're not trying to make money. That's not our goal, and I know for a fact that's the case. We set this policy up a long time ago with that specifically in mind. I was on the board that set that policy a long time ago. It may be confusing, it may not work right now. We definitely need to tweak it and fix it, but it can't be our facilities get used and nothing happens. You don't rent your house for free for 5 minutes. You don't give away your car to someone for months to use. There's wear and tear, there's costs, there are things we have to deal with as a district. And when I'm looking at this, I can promise you what my look is going to be is to mitigate as much as we can the burden that's going to be on me as a parent when I'm paying those fees, but the burden on all of us, because if we have to put money from our general fund to fix facilities, that means we do lose teachers, we lose support staff, we lose other things that the school needs to educate our kids. Because we don't have the facilities that we would like to have elsewhere, we're the only game in town. We really are for a lot of things. And we realize, I recognize the pressure on us, and I think this board does too. But I don't see that a zero charge is a viable option. But as limited as humanly possible, I think is something we all are just going to have to deal with. And I'm hoping that we can find accommodations that take care of those things. I also wanted to point to, I'm curious what these outside agencies are. Are there outside sports agencies, or are you talking about other stuff? Because I'm not sure of any outside, am I allowed to ask that? I mean, I'm not sure what that refers to. Can anyone be more specific on that for me?
Well, I think that some of what I got from the comments, and I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I know it takes time and sacrifice to be out here on a weeknight. What I heard from some of the comment was a request to consider the tiers and how they're structured, who's in what tier and how that should run. And also a suggestion of doing something with looking at the organization and the percentage of Mountain House kids that they serve. So that may kind of get to what you're asking about, who may be considered an outside organization and whether they're a nonprofit or a for-profit.
Even if they serve 50% of our kids and they're 250 of our kids are getting served. I mean,
I don't know what
that's where I just worry if we start setting limits. You know, I get what Jim says, and I think there is some structure to it or some basis for it. But I would say, if half of those kids are our kids, it's a pretty good sized organization. Are we allowed to interact? I don't want to.
In a perfect scenario, when they were in public comment, you could have asked a question. This is the opportunity for the board to discussion.
So I will just say that I recognize that this is going to be difficult for all of the sports organizations. And again, I'm a parent with kids who participate in. I hope that everyone understands that we have to balance that need with the budget that we have and the things that we need to do with those monies. And I will always keep that in mind, because again, I'm writing that check too. My kids are going to be participating. I don't want to spend it there either if I don't have to. But I do recognize there's got to be something. So.
And again, I'd just like to ask that we do consider the different tiers, more discussion of that, and also consider this idea of perhaps basing the fees on the percentage of Mountain House kids that are served. It's good for discussion, I think. Thank you.
I think we might, well, I think it might get rather involved if we're figuring out which kids are from where, that kind of thing. It's possible, but I think it might get kind of involved for the groups. I would like to see us keep the charges to our homegrown nonprofits as low as possible. Nobody came and spoke here about the foundations, but I think that the foundation should be charged little or nothing for using the facilities depending on the circumstances, because the foundations, everything they do is for our students. And I think maybe we say, well, that's not an appropriate use, but for uses that are appropriate for the foundations, I think we should charge. They should be in the highest tier so that they get charged basically nothing for the use of the facility, unless there are costs.
I think part of what we're working on too is sort of streamlining the whole process and making it more centralized so the district office knows what's happening at the different sites. So just for the audience, not all of the changes are going to be connected to pricing. So there'll be some more happening as far as knowing who's in the facilities when and what the connections are and what's happening there. Because that's an important part of the district being accountable for what's going on in our facility. So that'll be another side of this whole conversation, but again, not necessarily connected to fees.
And I think we're having I think there's a couple different conversations here. We keep hearing everything about field use from a lot of the folks that are here tonight, but on the grand scale, that's kind of a very small part of what we're trying to accomplish here. The big issue are the facilities. And what I would like to see is what's been discussed, a centralized process. I would really love to see a computer-based request program or something like that to use the facility, something that, you know, you can scan everything in, send it off, because that will address some of the bigger issues that we have. We're a school district. We're strapped for money. We've taken a lot of, thousands, millions of dollars in cuts over the last couple of years. So we are operating with a skeleton staff. And the costs that are being charged are costs to recoup for staff and for maintenance and for wear and tear and for water. Man, we pay a lot in water.
Yeah,
so we're not trying to make a profit. We're not trying to make a profit here. So, but the policy to date, which I also was a part of, has been very inconsistent. These campuses are government facilities. They do not belong to principals, they belong to the school district. So people being let in without approval is not only unethical, but that's a misappropriation of public funds. We need to have a process. I'm all about process. I say this all the time. When someone wants to use a facility, even if it's a corner, someone still has to go in and clean that corner. Someone still has to lock those doors when after someone leaves. We're paying their salary to be there. So those are the costs that we're talking about. I also feel like the district has a huge liability issue with the fields. And when I hear that organizations are taking upon themselves to go mow the fields, that raises a red flag in my eyes. That is a huge liability issue that I don't believe we have coverage for. So we need to have more oversight, which is difficult because I know we don't have the staff for that. So I saw your timeline and I would love to see it come back in policy form, but are we ready for that?
Yeah.
I think we need to really review these tiers, really take a look at. I just wanted to address the comment that was being made about trying to charge according to if they're Mountain House kids, if they're not Mountain House kids. Who's going to be responsible for trying to figure that out? We don't have a staff to sit down and figure out what organizations support a percentage of Mountain House kids and which ones don't. So I think the staff time really needs to be taken into consideration, and something that's do some solid work on it now so it's clear, concise, and it benefits everyone.
In terms of the timeline, we could come forward with a draft and leave that to the next discussion, as opposed to come forward with policy for official approval. This needs to be done right the first time, and if it takes more time, it takes more time.
I like to address the board. I think that's,
I'm looking at that timeline with major concern myself, because the first time we did this, we kind of went through a little bit of a quicker timeline, and now we're looking at the holes that are in it. And the flip side to that, and just for me too, this isn't the only opportunity you guys get to talk about this. Before we adopt a policy, it's going to be written for you to be able to look at and then come back and say what you like and what you don't like. And I really want to make sure that they get that opportunity, the public as well as us, because again, everybody's pair of eyes might see, okay, wait a minute, what about? And the more of that we get, the more consistent, clean policy we can develop to benefit everybody. I agree with Matt. I worry that adoption in 4 weeks will be.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Gives me more time.
But I also want to say this though, we have to have something in place before spring, before summer gets here. There's going to be a whole lot of demand before fall gets here. I'm guessing that the instant they're allowed to, there's going to be applications for the high school fields. We need to have something ready to go to get that stuff taken care of.
What are we currently charging for field use?
No, we do not charge for those.
So, and I don't know that there's a whole big recommendation on that change as well. It's mostly about facilities use.
The only thing that I have seen charged is if the bathrooms need to be opened for something, there's a 2-hour minimum custodial when they open them and when they close.
Well, as part of the discussion that I would like to see is, I have serious concerns about security with opening up those bathrooms.
Me too.
We've been fortunate about not having a lot of vandalism, but I don't want to see any vandalism. And we need to make sure that there's someone from the staff on site monitoring that if our facilities are open. That's how I feel like it.
So I think maybe if we can get an extra meeting or two in there just to get a chance for more information and more. Honestly, I think we're going to need more than one look at this. this. I don't think you're gonna come to us with a draft in 2 weeks that we can get everything we need back to you and you get back to us 2 weeks after that. I think that's asking a lot of you, considering what else is going on with the funding stuff and all the other things on all of your plates, you know, team district office. So I think just a little bit more time to give us all a chance to think about it and look into it we'd be better served. So I agree with Matt.
I would like to see a draft come back at our next board meeting, and then we can
We'll go from there.
look at
We'll
it,
just
tweak it if we need
work
to.
and keep going. Okay.
And, you know, anyone that wants to come comment on the draft, please help us out. I
You'll
don't
be part of the board.
It'll be in our
Online.
packet and on
Friday.
Thank
So,
you.
so just so everybody here, so for a board meeting to go forward on the Friday before the next board meeting, it goes out online, so if you wanted to take a look at that, it would be available on.
So that'll be a week from Friday for the next one. And I do appreciate all of you coming in and all the things you do for all of our kids, including me.